Hi, I'm Alex, this is Pucks and Paperbacks, and happy fall! I love fall. It means hockey is back, it's hoodie season, and the cozy vibes are here. So I decided to put together a list of queer books that you can read this fall. I have everything from cozy contemporaries to mystery thrillers, and I have some horror. So if that is something you're interested in, stay tuned. Let's get into the video. Let's start with some mystery thrillers, including Ace of Spades by Farida Abike Amide. I loved this book. I read it this year for a video where I tested the Storygraph's book recommendations, and this was so good. This is a YA academic thriller following two black teens, Chiamaka and Devon, when they are selected as senior prefects at their private academy. Devon has some suspicions. Chiamaka has been a prefect, so she doesn't really see the problem. But Devon is like, why is it me? This is a little weird. I don't even know how to pitch this book because it is just such a fun read. It is very thrilling and scary because of how realistic it is. It really talks about how black teens are treated by academics and the education system as a whole. I highly recommend this if you are looking for a academic thriller or just looking to read a thriller at all. Blackoween is coming up, which is one of my favorite readathons, so I'll have that link down below. It starts in October, and this would be a perfect read for it. As for the queerness, both of our protagonists are queer. Chiamaka is bisexual and Devon is gay. Obviously, I'm recommending all of these books because I love them and I want more people to read them for the fall season, but this is one of my personal favorites. Alatsue by Darcy Little Badger. I'm hoping to read this prequel to this in November. I would love to do a video where I read some queer indigenous books, so I'm definitely going to add that to my video list at some point. Alatsue follows our main character Ellie, who is Leapin' Apache, and she is able to raise ghosts of animals from the dead. She has a ghost dog, and the story is following her trying to uncover what happened to her cousin as she finds out that he was murdered. I hope I've sold you on the ghost dogs aspect, but if I haven't, this is a fantastic story. The storytelling is top tier, and Ellie is asexual. Next is a book that I haven't even shared on this channel yet, despite having read it for a vlog, but that vlog, we'll see what even happens to that vlog. Next up is a book that I've actually vlogged, but you haven't seen it yet, so this is kind of like a sneak peek almost. This is The Darkness Outside Us by Elliot Schaefer, and this is a sci-fi thriller. And if you know me, you're probably like, Alex, sci-fi, really? Who are you? And I'm thinking the same exact thing because I'm in my sci-fi era now. But I recently read The Darkness Outside Us, and I had to add it to this video because it is so fun. This is a YA sci-fi thriller following two boys who are on a spaceship and they don't know how they got there. But as they continue to be on this ship, they learn more about why they're there. The whole time I read this, all I could think of was playing Among Us, so if you like that game, you are sure to enjoy this book. We do have an Achillean romance on this ship. If you're new here, I am not a sci-fi person whatsoever. I stick to my contemporaries, but I was so hooked on this book. I believe I read the audiobook. I just loved this so much because it was so twisty and turny. The fact that you just don't know why these two people are on this ship, and once you learn, it is just a wild ride. And it's also very sad. It is pitched as Adam Silvera's They Both Die at the End, and I think that was a perfect comp. It is just a heartbreaking book, but if you like thrillers, you will absolutely love this. And last in this category is a graphic novel, Blackwater by Jeanette Arroyo and Ren Graham. This is a paranormal mystery. We have a trans main character and some disability rep. This is an unlikely match. We're following following Tony, who is a high school track star. Tony has asthma, and Eli, who is a quiet trans boy with a chronic autoimmune disorder. So both of our protagonists are queer and chronically ill. So in my vlog where I read this, I pitched it as Teen Wolf and the 13th year because Tony ends up getting bit by a werewolf and this is his transformation. I thought this was really sweet. I enjoyed it. It is very tame because it's paranormal, and I am not somebody who cares about werewolves. If you've watched my latest video where I test 1-star reviews, I don't like werewolves. I enjoyed this mainly because it was an origin story, so that was fun. Well, it's not one of my videos if I don't forget a book. My cat Leo is right here and he is purring so loud, so if you hear purring, that's what it is. But I wanted to recommend a graphic novel, Confetti Realms by Nadia Shammas. I'm actually going to be rereading this in October because I loved it so much when I read it, I believe back in March or April. This is following a group of queer teens on Halloween night. They go to a graveyard and they find a building. They go into said building and are transported to another realm where they have to collect teeth. I pitched this as Five Nights at Freddy because I get those vibes reading this book. The blurb pitches it as Tim Burton-esque, which I will also agree with. I just think this is a fantastic graphic novel, and if you like talking animals and animatronics, I think you'll really enjoy this book. It is so creepy and I loved it a lot. I hope more people will read it. The illustrations alone are gorgeous, and if you're looking to read a book on Halloween night, this is the one. And like I said, I'll be rereading it in October, so hopefully I'll pop it into one of my vlogs. Next up is for my horror pals. I am going to link down below some of my Halloween related vlogs that I have. I have a few from last year, and I also have done a video where I read some queer horror. So like I said, those will be linked down below. First, I have a graphic novel. This is North Ranger by Ray Tiquiero. This is a Northanger Abbey retelling, and it is about our main character who loves horror movies, and this whole book just felt like a horror movie. You know when you're watching one and you're so engrossed in it that you start to jump when the characters jump? That was the vibe of this book. It just felt like a horror movie. Just like watching a horror movie, my anxiety was so high while I was reading this book. It is set in Texas and talks about the way that queer people in general are mistreated there and the discrimination. Content warnings for homophobia, racism, alcoholism, death of a parent, cancer, misogyny, and minor content warnings for suicide attempt, suicidal thoughts, and animal death. Next up is a literary horror, and this is Chlorine by Jade Song. It is sapphic. This is a dual POV following Ren, who is a young Asian swimmer, and it talks all about how abusive swimming can be, and it really dives into swimming culture as a whole. There are a lot of trigger warnings for this book, so please be advised before you pick this up because it is not tame. Obviously it's a horror, but it is a literary horror, so it is going to be focusing more on real life situations as we are talking about mental health issues, self-harm, and this was such a beautiful book. I also think this is one where you just have to experience it, so I can't really pitch it as well. I just think it is so beautiful. I loved it so much. Basically, Ren believes that she's a mermaid, so throughout the whole book you are reading her perspective and her thoughts and how she has convinced herself that she's a mermaid, and I just love the way that this was written, the storytelling, and the sapphic romance at the heart of it. Next is another book that I recently read. This is Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle, and I have read Camp Damascus as well, but I'm adding Bury Your Gaze here because it's my new favorite. I liked Camp Damascus, but after I read Bury Your Gaze, it is just top tier for me. This is about Misha, who is a queer filmmaker, and when he is nominated for an Oscar, he is so happy because he has been dealing with these shitty executives who want him to kill off all of his characters. But what if those characters came to life? That is what this book is. It is fucking scary. It is gory, it is horror, and if you want a queer horror, I think this is the perfect one. It is so good. I listened to the audiobook and it had me so hooked. I am obsessed with this. If you don't want a bloody gory book, Camp Damascus would be my recommendation because it really just talks about religious trauma, bigotry, and conversion therapy, as Camp Damascus is a conversion therapy camp. So it is real life horror. Not that the bury your gaze trope isn't real life horror because it's a thing that happens. It is horror though because there are horror elements. Camp Damascus also felt like a horror movie to me. So if you don't want the blood and gore, I recommend Camp Damascus. But if you do want the blood and gore, read Bury Your Gaze and then get back to me. Do you like zombies? Because the next book features queer zombies. I love zombies as well. I was so excited when I heard about this book. It is The Z Word by Lindsay King Miller, and I have read it for a vlog. I read books from Bookstore's most recent Instagram posts, and I got to read The Z Word, and I loved it. When zombies start turning up left and right, it is up to our main character Wendy, who is bisexual, and her ex-girlfriend Leah to figure out what's going on and put an end to the zombie apocalypse. This talks a lot about rainbow capitalism. It was really fun. I never really read a zombie book before, but they're one of my favorite occults, if I can even call them an occult. I just had so much fun with this book. I will say though, it does have its problems. I had a huge problem with the way that it talks about cops. It doesn't fall into propaganda territory, but I would have liked there to be more emphasis on why cops are bad, especially as this book is set at Pride and around Pride Month. So that was my one critique. However, I think it is still a upstanding book and I had a lot of fun reading it. I will let you know though, our main character Wendy is insufferable. So if you are somebody that doesn't like to read unlikable characters, then I totally understand if you pass on this one. Next up is another book that I read for that Storycraft vlog, and this is You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca. This is such a weird book. It is so horror. I was not scared by it, but it definitely thrilled me, and I was so focused on this book. It was a book that I just could not stop thinking about. I was like, I know I have to do things, but I don't want to. I just want to sit and read this book. This is a novella inside a novella. There is so much inception going on here. We're following the creator of this novella, and we're learning about him and his partner, and then it switches to a novella called You've Lost a Lot of Blood, and it's following this girl and her brother, and they go to this house because she's going to work on this game called You've Lost a Lot of Blood, and shit just starts fucking happening, dude. It is so weird. It is so twisty. I should let you know as I'm recommending these horror books, I don't get scared very easily. I love horror movies and things like that, so I am just coming at this as somebody who doesn't get scared that easily. So please take that into consideration as I'm recommending these books. If there's some horror things that you just can't do, I totally get you. I totally get it. Horror's not for everybody. That's why I'm recommending all different things in this video. We've got the cozy mysteries, we've got the fall vibe books, and the mystery thrillers. So I just wanted to let you know that because I might be recommending these and being like, oh well, I wasn't that scared. And you're like, Alex, that would actually make me have nightmares. So what the hell? So I'm so sorry if that's what's happening to you. I'm sorry. But I just don't really get scared that easily. But Bury Your Gaze, that almost got me. I'm very fortunate that I'm not somebody that will have nightmares about the books that I read. So I really hope that none of these recommendations give you nightmares. This was my first Eric LaRocca, and I am definitely gonna read more. I can't wait to read more in October because I really enjoyed this. I just loved how focused I was on the book. It is very rare that you get a book where you just cannot stop thinking about it, where I'm like, I'm going to clear my whole schedule and I'm just going to read this book until I'm finished. It was so fun to read. Highly recommend. Next up is a comic collection. This is The Lola Woods by Carmen Marie Machado and Danny. It is set in Shudder to Think, Pennsylvania. We are following two friends, Elle and Octavia, who end up waking up in a movie theater and they can't remember what has happened the last few hours of their lives, but they embark on a journey to try and figure out what's going on. The town has been on fire for years and the woods are filled with rabbits with human eyes, a deer woman who stalks hungry girls, and swaths of skinless men. Huge trigger warning for body horror here, and there's also allusions to sexual assault. So this is not tame by any means. It is definitely a horror, and I ate it up. I loved it so much, and I recommend it anytime that I can. You know, this video is getting a little bit lengthy because my camera is beeping at me, but I'm gonna try and get through the rest, which are just my cozy mysteries and fall romances. And last is the cozy fall reads, including fall romances and contemporaries. And I just have any books that are set at school. I actually have a video where I recommend queer books that are set at school, so I will link that down below if you're looking for something like that. First up is a queer historical romance with no plot, just vibes. May I interest you in a baseball romance set in the 1950s following Luke and Billy. This is Luke and Billy Finally Get a Clue by Cat Sebastian. I love this novella. Luke has been injured by a pitch and he may be permanently injured and cannot play baseball again. They play for the Philadelphia Phillies, which is my baseball team. Go Phils, go Fightins. I just love the way that Cat Sebastian writes romance and the care that she writes the disability rep with. I love when we talk about sports injuries. It is so important to me and I just love her writing. I really love this. It is a part of a series of different characters. So if you are a baseball fan, I highly recommend this novella. Next, I could not make this video without recommending Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. If you want a book that is set in our world, but the characters practice magic, I love Cemetery Boys. This follows Yadriel, a trans boy who wants to prove to his family that he is a brujo, but his traditional Latinx family is still having trouble understanding and accepting his true gender. So Yadriel takes this into his own hands along with his cousin Maritza, and he tries to summon the ghost of his cousin who was murdered. However, he doesn't do that. He ends up summoning the school bad boy Julian Diaz, who is the light of my life. I love that character. He is hilarious. If you're looking for a book with great trans mask representation and some trans joy, Cemetery Boys is it. I saw myself a lot in this book. Yadriel is so relatable, and I just thought this was such a funny book. It is so fun. It is gripping. Julian doesn't know how he dies, so Yadriel and Maritza decide that they are going to try and help him figure out how he died to get him over to the afterlife. I definitely need to give it a reread very soon. Next is a short novella that is perfect for Sapphic September. This is Fall Into You by Georgina Christensen. It exudes autumnal vibes. This is a sapphic romance with childhood friends to lovers and found family. We're following Amari, who recently left her old town after she left her fiance at the altar, and she's here in Appleby trying to start anew. She's at a fall festival when she runs into Cassidy, her childhood friend and crush. She learns that Cassidy owns a coffee shop in Appleby and they end up rekindling and sparks fly. If you just want a short and sweet novella with fall vibes, this is perfect. This is a black sapphic romance featuring plus-size characters, a small town, autumn themes, butches and studs, motorcycle rides, coffee shops, childhood friends to lovers romance, and tons of found family feels. Content warnings for emotional abuse from a parent, minor homophobia, and minor fat phobia. Next is a book that I literally couldn't not put on this list, Cafe Con Leche by Emery Lee. Now, I don't really know if this is set in the fall. but it is set during school and it has pastries, and honestly I feel like fall is the time for pastries and I love baking in the fall, so this is perfect. We're following Theo and Gabby, who are both on the soccer team at their high school, and they both work at their parents' Puerto Rican bakeries. The bakeries are rivals and the whole story is them trying to help their parents' bakeries survive in the area because there's a lot of boba shops that are popping up and hurting the authentic businesses. This is one of my favorite YA contemporaries because it tackles so many different topics, especially that we have a character who is in the closet and he is not accepted by his family. I think that is so important to have in YA. I love their dynamic. If you want just like some grumpiness, some enemies, rivals, but a sweet story, I highly recommend this. I love it so much. Next, I have a YA graphic novel that is perfect for Sapphic September. Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms by Crystal Fraser with illustrations by Val Weiss. This is a Sapphic YA romance graphic novel following two former friends, Annie and BB. Annie is a smart, antisocial lesbian who is pressured to join the cheer team so that it will look good on her college applications, and BB is a trans girl who is the captain of the cheer team. The two girls rekindle their friendship and realize that there are some sweeter feelings. I love this book. It does such a great job sharing transness in a way that's not too heavy, and it shows the emotional and mental side of socially transitioning. Like I said, this is light, but it does still have microaggressions and some transphobia. But overall, BB is in an accepting place, which I love. This is a short and sweet book about childhood friendship and trans joy. Another graphic novel is a middle grade. This is Snapdragon by Kat Lee. We're following a young girl, Snap, who finds the town witch and befriends her. Her name is Jax. She's a lesbian, and we have so many sweet vibes here. This is such a perfect fall read. It is so sweet. Snap learns all about Jax, and I love their bond. It was so adorable. And last, I will leave you with a queer cozy mystery. This is The Body in the Back Garden by Mark Waddell, and I actually worked on the publicity for this book. I want more people to know about it, so I figured that I would pop it into this list. Set on Vancouver Island, in this queer cozy mystery, Lou Tremblay is about to discover that Crescent Cove has more than its fair share of secrets, and some might be deadlier than others. Crescent Cove, a small hamlet on Vancouver Island, is the last place out of work investigative journalist Luke Tremblay ever wanted to see again. He used to spend his summers here until his family found out he was gay and rejected him. Now, following his aunt's sudden death, he's inherited her estate, including her seaside cottage and the antique shop she ran for 40 years. Luke plans to sell everything and head back to Toronto, but Crescent Cove isn't done with him yet. When a stranger starts making wild claims about his aunt, Luke sends him packing. The next morning, though, Luke discovers the man is dead, lying in the back garden. To make matters worse, the officer leading the investigation is a handsome Mountie with a chip on his shoulder who seems convinced that Luke is the culprit. If he wants to prove his innocence and leave his town once and for all, Luke will have to use all of his skills as a journalist to investigate the colorful locals while coming to terms with his painful past. I really enjoy this book, and I hope that you'll pick it up if you're looking for a queer cozy mystery. Those are all of my fall book recommendations. If you want more book recommendations, feel free to hit subscribe. I make a lot of content about queer and trans books, so if that's something you're into, I would love to have you. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel when you do so, and by leaving a comment, it helps boost my channel to the algorithm and let more people know that I'm here sharing queer books. Let me know what you are looking forward to reading in fall, or any of your fall book recommendations that are queer. I cannot wait for all of my fall content to start. October is going to be filled with reading vlogs. I'm going to do a vlog where I read queer books like I do every year, and I'll be doing a weekly vlog for Blackaweenathon. I'll have a link down below if you want to check it out. It is a wonderful readathon focused on reading Black authors, hosted by the lovely Brie over at Locked Booktition. It is one of my favorite readathons, and I hope that you will join in. Everything is linked down below, as well as resources that I would love for you to check out. That is it for me today, and I hope to see you in my next video very soon. Bye.